Okay, we're coming down to 2 minutes before we start, and I'm seeing a lot of people signing in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Jennifer Brennan, and this is the first webinar of the season. It's Houseplants, the best and the rare. And I'm going to go ahead and do the public service announcements. Starting today, we have the Grow Inside sale. And through the 29th of January, if you spend $75, $25 comes off the top. And that includes houseplants, decorative containers, baskets to put the houseplants in, any fertilizers, any pesticides, like the systemic granular insecticide is a must. You have to have that. And then anything like, another thing you have to have is if it's a large plant, you want to use the down under plant stand. So they never sit in a saucer of water. So you buy any of those things and your total is $75, $25 comes off the top immediately at the cashiers. So really cool sale. And that starts today. Another fun thing we want to talk about is we've got a great event on Sunday, the 22nd of January, and it's from 1 to 3 p.m. And Daryl Chang is a wonderful author and actually influencer, and he has written the book, The New Plant Parent: Develop Your Green Thumb and Care for Your Houseplant Family. And he will discuss his journey of plant parenthood and how his houseplant care fundamentals, his favorite plants, and a demo followed by an audience question and answer period and a book signing. So then we will also be serving light bites and craft mocktails for dry January. So be sure and sign up for that, through the Chalet webpage. Okay, and it looks like we've got 18 people. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I talked about the handout. It's a plant list, and I decided there were so many phenomenal plants that we're bringing in that I just listed all the different groups and all the incredible cultivars that we've brought in if you're a plant collector, you can get so many different plants. And then also, just if you want something new and different in your collection. So, hey, we're up to 20. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Jennifer Brennan, and I think we should go ahead and get started. So I'm going to just click on this screen, and Chalet has done it again. We have completely transformed into a tropical rainforest. Okay, this is what it looks like when you walk in the front entrance. You walk in the front entrance and come to the main aisle and look straight north down that main aisle, and this is what you see. And we have all kinds of nooks and crannies to walk through. So if you would come up to that grouping of plants and then take a left and walk in here, look, you've got all the baskets that are inside and available to select, if you want to display your plants in a basket. The baskets are absolutely gorgeous. Then going back west down our main aisle, this is another grouping. Our visual people have done an incredible job doing this. Now, if you would walk down the aisle towards, that's Alexa, one of our staff members, and turn the other direction and look towards the pet essentials department, and you'll see we've got plants hanging from the ceiling and we've got them grouped. And this is the palm display, and these are the hanging basket collection. And then coming around the other side, walking into the pet essentials next to where all the Caspari card display is, we have also, we don't just have large plants, we have an incredible collection of 6-inch plants, 4-inch plants, and 8-inch plants. And they're all on this rack. So for easy viewing and easy selection. Now, if you walk back towards the glass houses, you can see these wonderful little nooks and crannies that Karina, our head of visual, made. So we were walking by and saying, hey, there's something in between all that foliage. And walking in a little more closely, you can see that there's a chair and there's a library set up. These are all the collections of the books that are wonderful for houseplants. You can actually sit down in that chair and just enjoy looking through those books to decide which ones that you want to purchase. Now, how did this all happen? All right, the Chalet visual team drafted everyone at Chalet, and we all did this in 2.5 days. So the big truck came in, they unloaded. All the large plants were wrapped in paper sleeves. I didn't get any photos of that, but the smaller ones were in boxes. So this is what the back of the store looked like for that first day. And you might have remembered this was one of the Christmas settings. And so as we're unpacking everything, visual was so brilliant. I don't know if you can see in the middle on the floor of those palms. See the piece, the sheet of paper. They printed where each of the groups of the plants were supposed to go. So that said palms. All right, and then this was the Dieffenbachia and Chinese evergreen on that main aisle at the front store again. This was before they got, completely arranged. This is looking down and see how they had the security tape taped around them so they didn't get moved until everything was in position and ready to be dressed up. There's Alex selling. We were selling all the plants that were in the greenhouse before the shipment. So there's some really good bargains there too. And looking down, this is the aisle looking straight west, going back to where all the plants are being loaded. And you can see these beautiful, variegated, these are variegated dracaenas, and then this other whole grouping of dracaenas right there. And then coming around, I'm following that, the grouping of the dracaenas, and then coming around over, this was the bow room. Remember at Christmas time, it's converting back to our wonderful decorative container room. And then they were staging, this was the beginning of the philodendron section. So they were just getting staged in there. And then see, there's this sign on the floor. See, philodendron. And you can see how we were placing them just in the right spots. And then, okay, over here, this is fun. This is back, we call this HH2, Home and Holiday 2. That's where there's that desk right there. These are more succulent plants. So you can see the euphorbia cactus, the pencil cactus. See how tall the big pencil cactus are, and then the yuccas. And what's interesting, the larger plants, these would be called 4-3-2-1. So you have a 4-foot tall branch, a 3-foot tall, and no, this is a 5-4-3-2 that we're looking at, both of those. 5-4-3-2. Got to get this right. Okay, and then a Ming Aurelia, and just directly back in the back corner over there. And then beautiful tricolor Sansevierias with that Ming Aurelia. And then over here, see where it says ficus on the floor? These are all, there's fiddle leaf figs, the Benjamin figs, and more fiddle leaf figs. Okay, and then over here, these are Alii ficus, and that's the one with the strap-shaped leaves. And then Ficus elastica, they're the rubber plant, and that's a variegated rubber plant. And then in that back corner, more fiddle leaf figs. And then all the Schefflera area. Now, most of these are the arboricola types, and we call those like the dwarf Schefflera. They have the smaller leaves. They're actually one of the sturdiest houseplants, but we'll get into that. I'll get into that in a few more minutes. And then here's the palm section. In this is just walking into the pet essentials department. And then there's another sign, the Jacinas. Okay, and then, look at this gorgeous, this is one of the color variegated Chinese evergreens. And so much has gone into their hybridizing. I'll talk about that in the lecture. And then here we are, another view that's looking back towards the checkout, and again, where all the dracaenas have been staged. Back in the pot, we call that the potting cave. Pardon me. These are all the spathiphyllums, or the peace lilies, and then a close-up of the ones that were in bloom. We have a separate category of peace lily flowers, and then peace lily that are that are just the foliage plants currently. And then, why do we want plants in our living areas? So this is the loaded question. NASA testing, and this probably is, every time I say a number of years, it's usually 10 more than I say. I was gonna say, I think this testing was done 25 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, but they tested houseplants up in space to see which ones would clean air. And they do, and they proved it. And what houseplants do, they filter out potentially dangerous chemicals from our inside environments. They either reduce the amount of the chemicals that are there, or they reduce the duration of the exposure, or they actually change the form of the chemical. And these are the stars, like bamboo, palm, kentia palm, emerald beauty. Say that fast 3 times. That's Chinese evergreen. Arrowhead plant. Then more Chinese evergreens. Spathiphyllum. There's that peace lily again. Dracaena, philodendron, and then close-ups of all this of the Chinese evergreens. Now, the chemicals that they work on, and the ones that are the most dangerous for us in our environment, are the trichloroethylene, and that's found in things like printing inks, paints, adhesives, paint removers. Formaldehyde is found in paper bags, wax paper, paper towels, particle wood, plywood, synthetic fabrics, even nail polish. And benzene is in plastics, rubber, lubricants, dyes, detergents, tobacco smoke, and vehicle exhaust. Xylene is found in printing materials, leather, paint products, smoke, tobacco smoke, vehicle exhaust. And ammonia, that's in window cleaners, floor waxes, and house cleaners. So these are the chemicals that we want to get out of our environment. What happens is plants produce life-giving oxygen, and then they absorb carbon dioxide. So that's why we work together so well, and we live together so well. We humans are exhaling carbon dioxide all the time. So the plants love us for that. And then we love the plants because when the plants do their photosynthesis and their metabolism, they actually, with the photosynthesis is how they produce the oxygen. It's a byproduct of photosynthesis. Now, plants also give off water. They transpire as much water as they take up, from their roots. And we all notice how dry our skin gets in the winter because of the central heating being on. And so plants actually transpire up to 97% of the water they're taking up from their root system. And so they actually provide that as humidity in our homes. Scheffeleras are one of the most particularly effective of the plants increasing the humidity. And this is my pet, Sheffy, that was up in the Learning Center for so many years. It's still there. He's actually graduated to a lower container because he's gotten as tall as the windows. But when you look at the leaves, the underneath side of the leaves, you can see, and this process is called guttation. When the plants are nice and hydrated, temperature goes down or it gets dark, a lot of that water oozes out of their pores and collects along the ribs of the plant and or glands right where the plant attaches to its petiole. So that's called guttation, and that's normal. That's normal. That's normal. Ooh, I just noticed we have 26 people. Hi, everybody. Now, the best plants for cleaning the air, and this is based on that testing. Number one is the florist chrysanthemum. It will take out all 5 chemicals I talk about. And this is a sun-loving plant. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of chrysanthemums this time of year, but the next best is the peace lily. It pulls all 5 of those chemicals, good shade lover. Red-edged dracaena will pull 4 of the chemicals. as does the variegated sansevieria or snake plant, and English ivy. English ivy. We're down to 3 chemicals with the cornstalk dracaena, Gerbera daisies, the flamingo lily or the anthurium, and then down to 2 with the bamboo palm, weeping fig, Chinese evergreens, and spider plants and Boston ferns. So I'm going to show you all these plants just in a few seconds. Now, everyone always asks, and they say, I want beautiful houseplants for me, but is it safe for my cats and my dogs? And this is information from the ASPCA. And we always ask, why do cats and dogs eat the houseplants? And a lot of people believe it's just to calm an upset stomach, or help process hairballs, or a lot of times they think pets are doing it to remedy a nutrient deficiency. Plants or animals do this when they're outside, but they may even, chew on your houseplants during play sessions, attacking the waving fronds as they would a toy. But it's really difficult to keep, a houseplant away from a plant that's determined to chew on it. So you need to make sure you have safe ones that aren't going to be toxic. So with the exception of edibles like cat grass, and that's usually oats, it's better to keep your houseplants out of the reach of the pets if you can. But the following plants are recognized by the ASPCA as being non-toxic to both cats and dogs, and they can be different for each of those groups of animals. So Gloxinias, African violets, baby's tears, the ornamental banana, spider plants, Venus flycraps, the areca palm, Boston ferns, calatheas, the friendship plant, or they also call that the Chinese money plant, polka dot plant, peperomia, orchids, Petonia or the mosaic plant, bromeliads, ponytail palm, the royal velvet plant, and hierothias. So that's a huge collection. So now I'm ready to have you meet the plants. So this is the parlor palm, and this is the Chamaedorea elegans, and it's called Neanthobella. And this is one of the easiest plants to take care of. I mean, it is absolutely lovely. It can get by on lower light levels. It works great in an eastern exposure. It works great in a western exposure away from the window, and a south exposure more in the center of the room. I mean, it can tolerate that. So this is one of those plants that it would like higher light levels. No, it will tolerate low lights, and it's not offended by higher light levels. There are some plants that can get burned by higher light levels, and I'll talk about those. The next one is the bamboo palm, and this is Chamaedorea and Secretii, and beautiful, more of a vertical upright. The leaves are a little more waxy, so it's very, very tolerant of our low humidity in our homes, and it can tolerate low light conditions. I wouldn't put it in a dark room where there's no light at all, but east window. This could even tolerate a north window. So bamboo palm, kentia palms. I love the kentias because they tend to be more fan shaped. They arch out, and have these beautiful kind of fan shaped leaves that are absolutely gorgeous. And again, lower humidity tolerant. All of the palms like to get a little dry in between watering. So that means you need to train to use your finger, touch the top of the soil to feel if it feels moist. I like to encourage people to do that right after they've watered, so they feel how nice it feels when it's moist. And then test. And when you first introduce it to your house, test 3 times a week. So you see how the plant's reacting to your humidity levels and the way that your furnace is running. So the first time that it feels dry to the touch when you're touching it, don't worry about digging all the way down. First time it feels dry to the touch, that's when it's time to water it again. And so kind of get yourself trained for that. Don't worry about using a probe, because people just don't understand those water probes. they tend to insert them too deep down into the root ball, and they expect it to show dry way down into the root ball. And if you wait for the center or the bottom of the root ball to get dry with a water meter, you will be seriously underwatering your plants. So get trained with your fingertips. Now, oh, the rhapsis, or they call it the lady palm, is my favorite. I love that. Excuse me. This is a bunch of them grouped together, so it really looks like a tropical rainforest. But what's fun is the leaves come up on a pretty long stalk. I would say at least 3 feet to 4 feet long, and then you have this palmate-shaped leaf structure. And oh, they're so elegant, and they tend to be kind of a lower and wider type of plant. And again, watering once a week is ideal. Lower light levels tolerant, but it can even, all of these plants came in from Florida, where they were grown in shade houses to help get them acclimated to being transitioned into home environments. But it's still very, very bright light. So all of our plants are going to always go through a 6 to 8 week acclimation period, and you will lose leaves. So, all the older leaves, not all, as many as 10% of the lower leaves, or the oldest leaves down in the center of the canopy of the plant, will probably be sloughed off or sacrificed. And what happens is the plant balances its assets and said, we don't have enough to go around, especially enough light. We're going to make some of the old guys jump overboard. But it's a natural balancing act. Oh, now this is the golden cane palm, or they also call it the areca palm. This one has been labeled probably the best houseplant of all houseplants. It's so resilient. It holds up to all kinds of stresses and abuses from humans, and it just keeps growing and growing and hanging on and hanging on. Excellent, excellent plant, the golden cane palm. This is the European fan palm. There's also a Chinese fan palm, and these are a little spikier, and their stems can have I won't call them thorns, but a rough texture on them, and they tend to be 4 feet tall to 5 feet tall, equally as wide. Also, let it get dry in between waterings, and then water once a week. Now we're moving on to the Chinese evergreens, and oh boy, they have done the most phenomenal hybridizing in the last 5 years on Chinese evergreens. We used to just have the variegated types that we knew and loved back when I was in college, back when I was in high school. But look at all the different types of variegation and all these fun names. I'm going to kind of go over. They've even introduced brighter color. So the Siam and the anemone and the golden floret, two-tone, the spring snow, silver bay. I love stripes. It's one of my favorites. And there's cutlass. Maria is also called emerald beauty. Shades are gorgeous, golden bay and the moonlit bay. This was a new one. I think it was just introduced 5 years ago. It's called Indo Princess, and it just has the most interesting. I believe there's 4 colors of green and cream in that. Stripes. I love stripes because you can look at this one and you know exactly that's stripes. The variegation is on uniform stripes all the way up in a V-shaped, all up and down those leaves. Moonlit bay is gorgeous because you can see how the variegation has more bay areas. So if you were on a lake, you could see you pull into a bay with your boat. Spring snow, it absolutely does look like it's been covered with spring snow. And it's just, and now the variegated ones do like brighter light. If they're in lower light, the variegation isn't as intense. You're going to get greener and greener leaves. Okay, now this is one of the colored varieties, and it was just introduced. I think we just got a lot of those 2 years ago. Okay, I did notice Thank you for putting your question in the question and answer column. I'll answer all those at the end of the presentation. The Ming Aurelia, this is the bush form. So you can see how the main stem had been pruned, so there was lots of branching occurring. So you've got a wider, fuller plant. Then there's also the tree forms. This is the Aurelia Balfour Lemon Lime. And the lemon lime is just beautiful because the leaves are more of a paler, limey green color. Oh, bird's nest fern. Boy, this is one of my favorites. And I fell in love with bird's nest ferns back when I was in college. And I worked for a grower in San Antonio, Texas, where I was going to school at Trinity University at the time. And his greenhouses were just adjacent to where our campus was. So I was able to get an after school job, part-time job with Herr Schultz was his name. And he was this wonderful German gentleman. And bird's nest ferns are really great because they're so waxy, very, very tolerant of low humidity in the homes, unlike other ferns. But this one, you do need to keep the soil moist. So that means touching the soil. The first time it feels dry to the touch, water it. Water the soil. Try not to allow water to stand in the center, whereas the bird's nest part is, because it could rot if you did that. Boston ferns, I love Boston ferns. Now, a lot of people don't like them because they can, be messy. When the leaves dry and drop, it's like having dry cornflakes all over the floor. And if you have a cat, the cat will chase them all over the house. Excuse me. I got my first big sword fern like this when I was 15 years old. And I was at my grandmother's hometown, a little town called Mount Carmel, Illinois, way down in the southern part of the state. And it was an oil boom town back in the 20s. And so there was a very wealthy area up on the high ridge part of town. So I used to go walk and see all the mansions. And there was a woman that had a gazebo and beautiful big sword fern. And I was dazzled by it. She walked out, said, "You want to start?" Ripped down a whole section out of the edge of the plant, took a tea towel and stuck it in her rain barrel, wrapped it up and said, "Here, this should hold it till you get it potted and it should be fine." I'm much older than 15 right now, and I still have that original plant, and I've divided it. I have 4 of them right now, and I've divided it and given it away. I love that plant. I love that plant. Okay, now more ferns. This is called the variegated brake fern, and beautiful, beautiful, beautiful gray-green fronds with that bold white center stripe. Maidenhair ferns, people either can grow these or they can't grow these. That's like me with, I have trouble with baby's tears. And no matter what I do, I kill them. But maidenhair ferns, we have native maidenhair ferns out in our gardens here too. But these are lovely, lovely, lovely. Okay, and then the footed ferns, they're like the rabbit foot ferns, the Dahlia, and then the Phlebodium, they call this blue star. And the fun thing is their rhizomes are fuzzy, so they look like rabbit's feet. So fun plant. Also one that's very, very tolerant of lower humidity, and it can survive it. All right. Staghorn ferns. Oh, staghorn ferns. Now this needs high humidity, and most often they're mounted on brackets. So then the staghorns kind of are really displayed beautifully, and they just keep growing over. You have the sterile fronds, which are the ones that grow on the plaque, and then the fertile fronds are the ones that are up like the staghorn. Collectors. A lot of people call these and love these as collectors plants. Oh, now we're moving into the succulents, and this is Cereus, and this is the night blooming Cereus. I don't know if any of you remember, I'm showing my age talking about Dennis the Menace, but Dennis the Menace was a cartoon and then also a TV show, and Dennis was always getting in trouble with his neighbor, and his neighbor was a member of a garden club and was all excited because he had a small greenhouse, and his night blooming cereus was going to bloom. And somehow Dennis messed something up, and it caused a power outage or something. So the evening that the garden club was all going to, gather in the greenhouse and watch the night blooming cereus bloom, they couldn't do it. So I always remember that before I became a horticulturist. That's almost pathetic. But okay, here we go. Then calatheas. Now calatheas are a plant that everybody loves them because their variegation is so beautiful. And unfortunately, beginners, this is kind of the first plant a beginner always goes for. And this is one of the plants that can break your heart because they're a little fussier. They have to be treated very carefully. And if they get a little dry in between waterings at all, you can lose half of the plant to having it wilt out. And it doesn't come back that well. So this one, make sure you understand and make sure you keep in touch. I always joke that when you get a new plant, it's like when you first were dating your husband or your wife, you kept in touch when you were dating. So one day you had coffee, another day you had lunch, another day you had dinner, until you decided you want to become partners. And so that's what you need to do with new plants. You need to keep in touch, touch that soil, check it on a daily basis to see how it's going to react to your environment, your new environment. These are gorgeous. They are absolutely gorgeous. But I have a confession. I don't have any luck with these, but I'm not a good bonsai person. And, I'm a cat person. So that could be a reason. Anyway, the orbifolia, this is the rounder edge leaf over here on our right. And then the vittata is the beautiful pointed one over on the left. Citrus. I love citrus. I love encouraging people about citrus. I love diagnosing citrus problems. And the Meyer lemons and the improved Meyer lemons are phenomenal. They've been hybridized to fruit early when they're young plants when they first flower and they first fruit. And your harvest is so rewarding when they're in flower. The whole house smells like the fragrance of the citrus, and it's just wonderful midwinter. It's just such a great winter blob breaker. And then this is what the Meyer improved look like. It stays small, and wouldn't it be lovely to be able to grow these outside in our gardens? But we can't here, so we keep them in a pot. And I have mine in a pot, and I move it outside in the summer, and then I move it back inside. And my Meyer lemon and my seedless lime are in a west window, and they just do great. And I'm harvesting 24 lemons in the next couple of weeks, and I have 36 limes. And here's the lime. And so the Bear's seedless lime, and Bear's, that's not a typo, it's Bearss. It's also called a Tahiti lime or Persian lime. And what's wonderful about these is the foliage is fragrant. If you don't have a lime, you can take about 6 of these leaves, crush them, and put them in boiling water and make a tincture out of them, sweeten it, and you can still make a mojito even without a lime. But the limes themselves, see, they're seedless. See that? Oh, good. That's comparing it to a regular lime. So you see the regular lime that's really small has the seeds in it, and the Bear's seedless is the one that's seedless, and they also have very thin rind. So they're wonderful. They're wonderful for juicing, for if you want to use a lime when you're enjoying tequila. The Bear's seedless is the best. It's the best. Okay, and then now we're moving on to the Dieffenbachias. I gotta watch the time. Okay, the Dieffenbachia, this is also called dumb cane. And the reason it's called dumb cane is that in the leaves, there's in the cells of the leaves, there's oxalic acid. And if someone takes a bite, and not a human, but it would even do that to humans, but it's mostly cats that will do it, or dogs, but they take a bite, the oxalic acid crystals are needle shaped, and they will puncture and get into mouth parts and cause them to go numb. And so that's why they call it dumb cane, because when your tongue is numb and your mouth is numb, you can't speak very well, and cats can't meow. It just is a temporary thing. those crystals dissolve pretty quickly and it goes away. But they're beautifully variegated plants. And we used to have the big striped ones, but we have Perfection. There's Tropic Marianne, Camouflage. Camouflage is the one up here in the upper right, and then Splash and Tiki. Tiki's the one that's down in the lower left. There's our classic, and then this is one I believe it's called Gold Star, and then we're moving on to the Dracaenas. And Dracaenas are those plants that, you know, we usually got one, and a lot of us got one in college. We still have it. Unfortunately, it's probably grown up to the ceiling and lost all the leaves down on the woody stems. And that seems to be what happens, you know, all the time. And so if it's that bad, you can prune them back. They can rejuvenate. It usually takes 2 seasons to rejuvenate and get new growth. It can be done though. And a lot of these, the original cultivars and the original common name was the corn plant. And because the leaves look like corn, you know, the leaves on a corn plant. So we have the Marginata, we have Carmen, Colorama, Gold Star, Green Jewel. Janet Craig is a real dark green. Limelight is the one that's right and just on the left-hand side of this photo. And then we also have the Marginata, is called Marginata because the green leaf, it's a narrow leaf, and it has a red edge, you know, red edge on it. This is Lisa Kane. That is one of the most hardy and it's got a lighter, brighter green color. And then now moving into the ficus, the fig trees. And many of us had Ficus benjamina, Benjamin figs, back in the college days, back in the 70s, when everyone went nuts over in the houseplant craze. And they're still hanging around. They're frustrating though, because Benjamin figs are notorious for dropping leaves, for their leaf drop. We always call that leaf drop. And I always said if I was going to go back and get a doctorate, I would probably go back to try to decide and figure out why Benjamin fig always drop their leaves. They drop their leaves if they get too dry. They drop their leaves if they get too wet after being too dry. They drop their leaves if they get exposed to a cold blast of air from the front door. They drop their leaves if you move them from a south window to an east window. And but the cool thing is they always come back. They always produce new growth. So the next one, the photo here on the left in this, or the center, that's the Alii, and it's got more of a strap-shaped leaf and not known for dropping leaves. It does not drop leaves. So it's a beautiful alternative to the Benjamin figs. And then this is the classic rubber tree, but this is the variegated form. Oh my goodness, I cannot believe I didn't put any photos of fiddle leaf figs in. Oh, holy smokes. Well, I had a whole bunch in the introduction, and fiddle leaf figs are, they're the rage. Everybody wants a fiddle leaf fig. Unfortunately, there's so much bad information out there that you have to be careful who you listen to and who you talk to. The truth about a fiddle leaf fig is that it is a tropical rainforest plant, and it lives in the understory of the tropical rainforest. So that's why it's so great for our homes with the low tolerant of the lower light levels. It's not so happy with the low humidity. And then everyone's so worried, they're so susceptible to root rot that the word of don't overwater. But unfortunately, then they get underwatered, horribly underwatered, and then start forming brown spots all over their leaves, brown edges. And I cannot exaggerate the number of people that come in with heartache over fiddle leaf figs. So you have to realize they need to be watered once a week. They do beautifully if you're giving them the fertilizer. They really benefit from having like a down under plant stand, so that they're never standing in water. You never want the bottom of the pot sitting in water, because they are so susceptible to root rot. And root rot is caused by the water molds, Rhizoctonia and Pythium. So whenever you have any standing water anywhere, then those water molds can grow and can cross right into the root systems and cause root rot. So those are the best things, but realize you do have to water them, and when you do it right, they are wonderful plants. Same with these guys. These guys are pretty tough. These, okay. Now, philodendrons. Philodendrons is another group of plants where they have hybridized like crazy. So Brazil is the one that's at the top here. They have cordatum. And the cordatum are the heart-shaped ones. Jungle boogie. These are all the different. Prince of Orange is the one that's over here on the right. And they are just gorgeous. And then the philodendron whole family includes the monsteras. So I'm going to kind of run through all these. This is one called Deja Vu with all these beautiful lobed leaves. Okay, and then Imperial Red. What happens is the shoots come up red and then darken to the almost a black green. And this is just a gorgeous full plant. This is Jungle Boogie. And then this is Macaulay's Finale. Moonlight with that gorgeous neon green. This is the Monstera in the large pot. This is Monstera. They also call it Mini Monstera, and they call it Mini Monstera Ginny trellis. And you can see the leaves are smaller and more deeply cut. There's more deeply cut. Okay, and then this is one that is called Xanadu. Huge, big plant with very deep lobes, you know, on there. And then we have any more. Oh, and this is Prince of Orange. I did get a close-up of this. Isn't that gorgeous? Starting out, you know, orange like that, and then going to more of the neon green and the bright green color. Now, the difference between pothos and philodendron. Okay, the pothos are over here on the left, and then so you can see the stem of the pothos in the left center, and then the stem of philodendron on the right. Pothos have more of a clasping stem or petiole, and it clasps around the main vine. You can still see the aerial roots. On philodendron, there's a leaf shield that covers each shoot, and it peels away as the shoot forms. And but you can also see the aerial roots at each node. So then there's the difference. The taxonomy. Here's all the pothos is the two different the genus is the Ipiprimum, and then the Syndapsis. And the Syndapsis are the satin pothos. And so here's neon. Neon came out, I think it's probably been about 10 years, but really fun when it first came out. This is the Syndapsis or the satin pothos. And this is a cultivar called Silver Splash. Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And then we've had the golden pothos for years and years and years and years. And this is we sell it on a totem, you know, a totem pole, also in hanging baskets. Ponytail palms. You know, I love ponytail palms. And you know, it's a caudex plant. And a caudex means is an enlarged stem. And so it was one of the first plants I ever learned to learn what a caudex was. And so it stays, you know, it doesn't grow real fast. It's a real collector's item. So you can see, really fun. Sansevierias or mother-in-law's tongues. Boy, have they done phenomenal hybridizing on this plant. And you can see the photo in the middle, right at the bottom. Black Coral, Golden Flame, Laurentii, Moonshine, and Zelandica. All of those are just incredible. There's different forms. There's the bird nest type, and they tend to be lower growing and wide, and it looks like a bird nest formation. And then we have the taller spike ones like this one. Really fun. Sago palms. Okay, sago palms, cycas, they also call them cycas palms. These were around just like this in the dinosaur age. And I think these are collector's plants. And I had one and someone stole it from me back when I was a sweet young woman. And so I'll never forgive that person. But what's fun about these, they are real spiky, you know, they're sharp, and they usually only put out one growth spike a year. So they need to be in bright, bright light, especially for that new growth spike. And otherwise they stretch out and they look deformed. So it can tolerate lower light levels, but in the new spike, it gets developed between February and March. So put in as bright a room as you can when that's happening. It can tolerate lower light levels later, in the growing season. But this is a plant you'll have forever and ever and ever. And it likes to get dry in between watering. Chefalaras. This is Cheffy from up in the Learning Center at Chalet. And then that's the standard. And then we also have Chefalera arboricolas, which are the miniature Chefaleras. And that's what our collections are here that we have for sale. And they're very tough. This is one of the toughest plants that you can have, and one of the easiest and safest plants you can have to grow, because it puts up with all kinds of abuse. It can deal with low light levels. It can tolerate full sunny. This Cheffy up in the Learning Center is in a south window, and it loves it, absolutely loves it. And those shiny, shiny leaves are not from leaf shine. It's from using Dynagrow liquid plant food, which has 795 macro with 11 micronutrients in it. Spathiphyllum or peace lilies. The reason they call it a peace lily is when the flower comes up, it's a spathe with that flag. It's like waving the white flag. So I surrender, I surrender, I surrender. Now this plant can tolerate even the lowest light levels in the home, but it won't flower. If you want it to flower, you need to give it at least 4 to 5 hours of direct sunlight a day to keep it in a flowering mode. People have lived with these without flowers for years and years and years and years and years, and love them. But look how great the flower is. Bird of paradise, and this is the orange bird of paradise, Strelitzia. And it almost looks like it's a great big plant, and it looks like a banana. It's kind of, and then this is the flowering structure that comes up. So in order for it to flower, it does have to have full sunlight, and at least 5 hours a day. A lot of people move these outside in the summertime as a tropical patio plant, and then move them back inside for the winter, as a foliage plant. But the flowers are just incredible. Okay, the ZZ plant. You can see why they call it ZZ, because it's Zamiocalis zamifolia is the official Latin name. So everyone calls them ZZ plants. Now the ZZ plants, very, very waxy, very, very leathery. They will hold up to all kinds of bad conditions. They can survive very low light levels, but if you don't give them bright light when they're in the active growth phase, which would go from March through the beginning of June, they can get stretched fronds or stretched leaves. When we say stretched, that means the distance between each node, called internodal space, gets larger and larger and larger. So don't just put them in a dark closet. They need to have some pretty good light, but they're very, very tolerant, and they're also very tolerant of someone who is not as conscientious about watering as they could be. Is that a nice way to put it? Yeah, it is. Okay, so now here's some of the rare ones. All right, this is called a crinium lily, and this is striped Bengal variegated. And when you look at it, and I didn't do a good side portrait shot, it looks like a yucca. It looks like a yucca. It has a bare stem. You can sort of see it, and these leaves, arch out at the top. Look at that variegation. Holy smokes. You can see it across the room. Now, because of that variegation, it needs full sun. You need to put it in a sunny west window or south window to keep that happy. All right. And then these had just come in off the truck, and just being in the store for 2 days, 2.5 days, 3 days, it was already starting to sacrifice some of its lower leaves. So be aware of that. And when if you buy one of these and bring it home, put it in a sunny window as you can, and then you can gradually move it away from that direct location. Now, that talking about sunny windows, you can put it right in a window. That's perfect. And then each time you move a plant 6 inches away from a window, you reduce the light intensity by half. So understand that if you have a plant that it's getting a little sunburn, and sunburn, you'll see areas that just the chlorophyll gets burned out, and then it starts out looking white, and then it goes brown. And that's sunburn. But Always put them as close to the window as possible. And then it's nice. It's nice being, pretty, that intensity. And just so you know, because through glass and all the quartz crystals that are in glass, they filter out a good portion of the sunlight. And so a sunny window indoors is like being out in bright shade under a really, bright shaded area under a tree like a honey locust. So it's like filtered light. So yeah, it's not full sun indoors. It's not anything close to what full sun outdoors is. Okay, this is Pink Princess. All right, and this is a Pink Princess philodendron. I can't exaggerate enough how every time our visual person talks about and looks at a Pink Princess philodendron, her mouth waters. She loves this plant, and it is spectacular. And look how you just get all this different variegation on each leaf. And that has the pink, and then it goes to the cream color, and it's variable on every part of the plant. These are really fun, really fun. Thai sunrise philodendron, another spectacular variegation. I mean, just spectacular. You've got that olive green, and then that the neon light green. And again, variable. So cool. See, I'm showing another shot of two other different plants. So variable. It's really, really fun. Okay, so now, oh, wow, I'm doing pretty good. Coming in for the summary. I'm hoping that this presentation has inspired you to come and visit Chalet and see, I just showed you the tip of the iceberg in these slides. This presentation I gave you, it doesn't even address the real reason that we buy plants in the first place. We buy them to set a mood, to make us happy. We enjoy them for those emotional reasons. So enjoy them for the emotional reasons first, and then reap the beautiful, huge physical benefits that they provide us when they're in our houses, with that extra oxygen, extra humidity. I would love to say that this is my patio, this photo, but this was in Hawaii. I took this at a hotel that I didn't stay there. I wish I could have stayed there, but we were visiting, and we went and had drinks one time at the open bar. But I couldn't resist taking, and look at these gorgeous Boston ferns. And this is all open air. Now, we've also done, because we haven't done live repotting sessions like we used to. We used to do them monthly for houseplants and monthly for orchids. We haven't been doing that because of COVID, but I did make some YouTube videos. So you can go to YouTube. The best way to do this, just go to YouTube. You can also access YouTube from our webpage, but go to YouTube and just type in the search bar, Chalet Nursery Repot Orchids or Chalet Nursery Webinars. All of our webinars are posted, and you can watch them anytime, night or day, with no fee. So, take advantage of that. And then, oh, I wasn't going to show you that. Well, here, I'll show you. This was my son when he was 4.5 years old at a neighbor's house. So I did this presentation for cute little Elizabeth and her company. So, but go back to the YouTube, and let me see, I've got time for questions and answers. And thank you. We had 28 people stay to the end. Thank you. I hope to see you in the store. I won't see you today because right after this, I'm going to the memorial service, the celebration of life of one of our wonderful Chalet family members, Gail Smith, passed away last Sunday. And her visitation and her memorial service is at Scott and Hennecamp from 11 to 3 today. So I'm going to be there this afternoon, but I'll be back in the store tomorrow to help you and answer any questions or show you my favorites. But let me look at the Q&A. Here we go. Okay, anonymous attendee, what's the easiest plant to maintain that has the best ability to clean a home's air? Oh, that's an easy one. That's an easy one. That's a Scheffalera. Any of the Scheffaleras, and also look, probably go with the arboricola type, the miniature. That is the easiest And it also is one of the best ones to clean the air. Great question. Great question. Okay, so we're going to do this and answer that. Okay, Sander. Oh, Sander, hi. We have a fishtail palm, which is extremely struggling. Okay, leaves with brown yellow tips, which will eventually die down. I water every week, but it be caused by a draft near our back door. You know, yes, it sure can. They're not as happy getting those cold blasts of air. The other thing is check to see how much light it's getting, and then try to give it some fertilizer. Come and get the Dynagrow Grow, especially starting it now as the days are getting longer and longer. And I have to tell you, I've had so many people come in with so many problems with the houseplants because it got so cold right before Christmas, and our furnaces were just going nonstop. And so plants that were just teetering on the edge because the days were getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. And we had the shortest day of the year on the 21st. Then when that humidity dropped, oh my God, they just went into sacrificial, like, let's get rid of as many of the old leaves as we can to see if we can survive. So use the fertilizer, check your lights, make sure you've got pretty good light. And as the days are getting longer and brighter, oh, our plants are the first ones to realize that and can really do well. And if you need to, bring in a sample. I'll put it in the microscope to make sure it doesn't have anything else going on. Make sure it's not sticky. If it's sticky, there's a good chance it's got spider mites. Okay. Okay, and then this is Ilya. Okay, I enjoy growing them. Meyer improved lemon. However, they always get spider mites. Yeah, they really do. And I have to throw the plants away as I do not like using excess chemicals. When I have used the systemic granular, I cannot eat the fruit. How do you grow yours and eat the fruit without using insecticides? Well, okay, there is a great product that you can spray on them. There's several different companies that make, it's a combination of sulfur and a pyrethrin. A pyrethrin is an organically derived insecticide that you spray it on. It'll kill insects on contact. The sulfur kills spider mites, but you do have to spray both sides of the leaves, above and below. And that's how I do mine. Now, Bonide has come out, and it's brand new this season. It's called Neem Max. And Neem Max is a cold processed neem oil. So the azadirachtin has not been derived out of it. So you might try that also. That might work, really well as for you. Here's another one. As a side note, when I worked with Tony Fulmer 47 years ago, oh my goodness, I purchased a 4-inch ficus. A 4-inch ficus. It is now 5-inch trunk and is an 18-inch pot. And every spring I take it outdoors where it spends the summer on my front porch and use a hedge trimmer on it. Oh my gosh, what a fun story. Thank you for sharing that. That is wonderful. That is wonderful. I can't wait to tell Tony. Okay, and then I have a couple varieties of Sansevieria. How many varieties does Chalet have in stock? Oh my gosh, the Sansevieria, the list that I have, let me count real quick, is Sansevieria. Oh, it's this side right here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, here we go. You have the best questions. Thank you. Okay, and here we go. You still are a sweet young man. Oh, you sweetheart. Thank you so much. Oh my. Okay, and this is Marguerite. How moist should I keep the soil for a jade plant? I have mine in a north window. Wow, the north window might not be, bright enough. And then we don't ever talk about keeping the jade plant moist. We talk about watering, and any succulent plant, if you're using the finger test and you touch the soil. So for things like ferns, you're touching every day. The first time it feels dry to the touch, it's time to water. Foliage plants, first time it feels dry to the touch, you want to water it within that day or the day after. Succulents, first time it feels dry to the touch, you can wait 2 more days before you water. And that's the case with a jade plant. And especially during the off season like this, you can actually hold off and use when the lights are low like this, or the light levels are low. And if you have it in north window, you can use water as a growth regulator. So you can get by only watering a jade plant once every 2 weeks. And that's not going to be a problem at all for it. Good question. Okay, now here's a question from Karen. As far as the plants that clean the air, does it have to be the specific varieties that you listed, or can it be? Oh, it can be any of that genus. That's a great question. It was a great question. It doesn't have to be the cultivar. It can be anything in the snake plant family. Any of the Scheffeleras. Any of them. They didn't specify by cultivar. It was by the genus and by the physiology of each genus. Great question. Great question. Thank you for asking that. Okay, and I'm watching the time. I'm right at 11. Anonymous. Oh, sorry, I missed the type of Schefflera that Jennifer just recommended. Excuse me. It's called the arboricola types, and arboricola is the specific epithet of the smaller leaf size Schefflera, and that's the one that I recommend is the easiest to take care of, and the easiest to fit into your home setting, because you can prune it any time of the year and it always recovers. So look for the arboricola type Schefflera. Okay, great question. Oh, Usha, hi Usha. When should I fertilize Christmas cactus? You know, Usha, I fertilize my Christmas cactus every time I water, especially with the Dynagrow. So they really benefit from that. Okay, so my attitude is, if you have a plant and it's 72 degrees and there's light, that plant is photosynthesizing, and it can use the macronutrients and the micronutrients. So a lot of people, especially in years past, don't fertilize from October to March. And you know what? That's not really, that really isn't that important to do that. Okay, so here we go. Thank you. That's a great question, Usha. Susan, hi. You're the best. Can I just use tap water? Sure. Of course you can use tap water. Now here's something about tap water. Our tap water is highly mineralized. So that's why I always say, don't put a plant in a container that does not have drainage. If you put a plant in a container without drainage, you're giving it an 18-month death sentence, because the plant takes up the H2O. H2O evaporates, but the minerals stay in the soil. And because you can't water and drain, you can't dissolve those minerals out. And as the minerals build up over 18 months, they combine with each other. And when they combine indiscriminately, they can make salts, and you can get root burning. And then that sets the plant up for root rot. And it's so easy to leave the bottom area of the roots wet when you don't have drainage in a container. So that the disadvantage of using a tap water is because the minerals, but minerals are not a bad thing. But as long as you water and drain, and then the third application each week is your fertilizer or your Dynagrow mix. Okay, great question, Susan. Thank you. And then Judy, what is the genus of the Chinese evergreen group? Oh, great question. Aglaonema. And I just realized on my plant list, I didn't put the common names. Ooh, shame on me. But that this is kind of part of the learning at Chalet. You know, Google what Aglaonema is. It'll come up and show you it's Chinese evergreen. Okay. All right. I may have to change this handout though too. So I just got a big feeling of guilt because I didn't put that on there. But anyway, hey, thank you. Great questions. Let me close this one out. And everybody, you are wonderful for staying with me through the whole hour. And thank you. And your wonderful compliments are so greatly appreciated. All right. Bye, y'all.